missing? Were you missing all along? Alone. I'm just begging you to listen. Can you listen to me at all? Oh, I'm sorry, I just don't get why you're caught up in this mess. But I'm not trying to guess no more. And I'm sorry, I don't know why you're pushing me to the side. I just can't handle your pride no more. It's like an evolution in your brain, burning like a fever that you can't contain. Growing through your soul, I'll be as cold as stone, but nobody will notice 'cause you're always on your own. Maybe it's somebody that you don't like. Will you keep letting them control your life? Don't you see you know you're gonna be alone? Why don't you take a moment to get off your throne and show me what you got? Instead of thinking that nobody cares and pushing everyone away. What you got? Instead of trying to convince yourself that nothing's gonna be okay. What you got? Instead of blaming somebody else, think you got a little more say. What you got? Won't you show me what you got? Can you show me what you got? I don't know what I envisioned, but the vision could have been wrong. Wrong, wrong. I'm just trying hard to listen. If I listen, can you be strong? Be strong. There's just been way too much stress. It could be me, I confess. Maybe we just need a rest or more. And I'm sorry, I don't know why. I feel like something is died. I just don't think I can try no more. It's like an evolution in my brain, burning like a fever that I can't contain. Growing till my heart will be as hard as stone, but nobody will notice 'cause I'm always on my own. Maybe it's somebody I used to like. Will I be running from it all my life? Don't you see I know I'm gonna be alone? Why don't you take a moment to get off your throne and show me what you got? How can I show you that somebody cares if you keep pushing me away? What you got? Am I just trying to convince myself that everything will be okay? What you got? Instead of listening to someone else, could I have a little more say? What you got? Won't you show me what you got? Can you show me what you got? It's like an evolution in your brain. It's like a fever that you can't contain. It's like an evolution in my brain. It's like a fever that I can't contain. I don't know what I am missing. Are you missing me at all?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. I'm your host, Winchester572, and we're back. Yeah. So, hope everybody had a happy and safe 4th. I had a few people over. But, yeah. What's going on with me? Excuse me. Probably none of you care. But yeah, getting shit done and whatnot, and waiting for jobs. Yeah. But other than that, got everything good. We've been getting a lot of rain here, West Nebraska, and fortunately, central Nebraska is flooding out. So I actually took a motorcycle road trip up there today and went as far as I could until the highway was flooded over, and turned around, and that was about an hour and a half to the east of me. Tomorrow I'm going to be going, me and my mom are going on a shopping trip to Grand Island. It's just east of where the major flooding is, but they're supposed to be getting like the river crest now. I guess we'll be seeing what we encounter there. The interstates are open, it's just the highways. But yeah, so in other news, we're getting back to a reading. I finally got around to planning a reading, and also I'm here to stream it so we can do the reading. So without further ado, let's get into the roll call.
You didn't have to shout.
Didn't.
Hi.
I didn't shout. I was actually fairly quiet compared to how I normally am.
It was a yoke.
But you suck at jokes.
Well, you just suck in
It's
general.
a yoke then.
Yeah. So, anyways, yes, let's get right into introductions here.
Is his mic buzzing for anyone else?
Yeah.
A little bit,
Slightly. Yeah, but I
Yeah, me
presume
too, I
it's
hear it.
going through the Discord. Or I hope.
I wasn't hearing it while I was listening to the stream, but I am hearing it while listening to Discord.
There, is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally, all that you have to say when you hear my mic doing anything weird through Discord is just say, reset your focus right. For those of us that use focus...
Reset your shotgun mic. Got it.
I usually just say focus right.
How do you reset it? Just
I
straight
reach them back, flip a switch, turn it off, and flip the switch back on.
Oh.
It's great because I know exactly that problem, and that's why I have a fucking mixer on my desk.
I have a fucking mixer on my desk too, along with my Focusrite.
My Focusrite is currently holding up a table in the corner because I hate it.
Well, I was using mine. Okay, the only thing that I don't like my Focusrite for is for Discord itself. Everything else is perfectly fine. And so I do the same thing you do at cons because fucking M/X32s you can just plug into with the fucking USB card.
More than anything.
Except for the fact that for some reason when I had the M32 here, I couldn't get my microphone to go back into my computer.
Oh, you gotta get the ASIO plugin, and then
yeah, I did.
other plugins, yeah.
Yeah, I did. I had Lars and Senchi both working on that for hours, and I think, yeah.
Well, that's great.
Well, Lars didn't know what was going wrong, and I didn't either. That's why I don't trust it for anything other than the 32 multi-track recordings that I do. But
I wasn't trusted either, so there you go.
Anyways, yes. So, getting started with introductions here. We have my lovely co-hosts, Crazy Matt's Captain and Sky Rays.
Hello.
I'm some name Bob.
We have our wonderful fanfic editor, Double R Forest.
About damn time that I became relevant to this group again.
Speaking of relevancy, we have Datsmore back here.
I'm also Bob.
Two Bobs?
And
Two Bobs?
and
For the price
speaking of bobbing, we have Coal Dust. And speaking of silence, we have Commander Something sitting in silence in the background, stalking us.
I said no intro me.
I never heard that. Oh, now I saw it. Ha.
He's just blind.
Yes, I am. I was paying attention to Coal Dust's horrific thing.
I've noticed.
That's a face!
But all right, so Commander Something is not here tonight. There we go. And apparently Coal Dust is still dead. Damn it, I told people not to die right before I started streaming.
But what if we're already undead?
Well, then you better go save Saga.
Welcome to
The
the
wrong
real
place to
deadening.
find brains.
What's a saga? Who's a saga?
Nobody else watched Zombieland Saga?
I found a typo.
Go fuck yourself.
So, okay, Coal Dust.
Is my microphone working now?
Yes.
There we go.
A little bit.
I was wondering why you cut off my line about, like, parrots, but now I understand.
Wait, what? Parrots?
Okay, so when Winchester, like, threw to me, I was just like, have you ever just kind of stopped and thought about, if you were to roid up a parrot, would it be able to fly?
And then I said, speaking of dead. And you got really confused, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always confused, so this is a normal state of mind for me.
Yes, but now I want to do some science.
Alrighty. And speaking of science, that's one of the themes of our new fanfiction that we've got here. So, setting the mood, I just lit some incense. So, there we go.
He's smoking weed.
Smoke weed every day. But,
Nothing
We're
says
talking
futuristic
sativa,
Candles are
storytelling.
probably a
hybrid,
thing.
what?
so, yes. So, without further ado, I think if everybody is ready, we'll get right into it. So, nobody said anything different, so here we go. Alrighty. So, getting into the reading here. Narrating is none other than myself, Winchester. Playing Paul Velchik is Double R. Forrest. Playing Robert Thompson is That's More. Eric Olson is CMC. Person
Aaron.
one, or Aaron, yeah. Well, it could be Eric for this particular one, I guess. Person 1, random person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is Oldust. Adam will be played by Skyrays. Maggie Henson will be played by CMC. Alden Rowe will be played by Skyrays. Herman Fisher will be played by Datsmore. And Richard and the Guard will be played both by me. This fanfic is called Project Sunflower by Hoppy McGee. Yay, an author's name we can actually pronounce.
I think that's Hoopy.
Yeah, there's 2 O's.
Congratulations, you failed.
Introduction. The Black Pearl. Tide. Go.
To Robert Thompson, Chairman of the Committee on Human Survival, from Dr. Paul Felchik, dated June 15th, 2037. Bob, it's been almost 2 years since the impact. 2 years of tiny machines, semi-biological in nature, swarming in the uncounted trillions from the impact crater, tearing our world apart atom by atom and rebuilding it. Animal, vegetable, mineral, all terrestrial matter that those alien nanomachines encountered, being torn apart and rebuilt as something else. 2 years of an expanding circle of black matter radiating out from the impact site, creating what looks like a massive oil slick. An oil slick hundreds of miles in diameter and growing at an increasing pace every day. An oil slick that somehow moves and ripples as if it's alive. And that's why we call it the Black Tide. But I'm sure you know all that. It's your commission that's supposed to be salvaging what's left of humanity and ensuring our survival after all. You've tasked the scientific community to come up with a plan to stop the tide. A noble goal, but one that we become less optimistic about with every passing day. Nothing we do seems to stop it for very long. We've tried everything. Flames, high voltage electric grids, various chemicals, radiation. Darn it, Bob, even dropping nukes on the blasted thing wasn't as effective as we hoped it would be. You've also asked the aerospace industry to come up with evacuation ships, in case we need to abandon our planet. You know my opinion on the feasibility of that. We could, at best, save a few 100,000 people. Those people would have the privilege of dying in space of starvation or radiation poisoning, rather than dying of starvation on Earth or being consumed by the Black Tide. After the last several decades of decreasing space budgets, we simply don't have the know-how to build sustainable space stations. Certainly not self-sustainable space stations capable of supporting thousands upon thousands of people. No, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We need to leave this world, but not through space travel. I'm asking for Project Harmonix to be reopened. I'm asking not only for my budget to be reinstated, but to be increased. I've heard it said that it's nothing but a pipe dream, but my colleagues and I believe that we've had several very important breakthroughs. You know the timeline as well as I do. We have, at best, 5 years before the entire surface of our world is recreated as a gigantic puddle of black sludge. The situation is bleak. You say that we can't afford to waste resources on this? Well, I say that we can't afford not to. If we can get this to work, we can save everyone. Every last one of us. But we need to act now. The technology we need will take months to design and build. We can work on the theoreticals while we're getting the labs constructed, but the longer we delay, the more will die, and the tighter the timeline will be for evacuation. You've known me for over 20 years, Bob. You know that I wouldn't put my own pride ahead of the entirety of humanity. I honestly and truly believe this is our last and best hope. I'm asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to do what's right. Signed, Dr. Paul Velchik.
To Dr. Paul Velchik, from Robert Thompson, July 29th, 2037. I'm putting my neck out for you here, Paul. The men and women on the commission are a hard-headed bunch, and something like harmonics is just too far-fetched for them to really understand. Frankly, I don't understand it either, but I trust you. It took a lot of arguing, it took a lot of pressure, but I finally got your budget approved. Your original budget, I'm afraid. You'll have to make do. I'll do what I can, though, to acquire what resources I can from other projects, provided that you understand I may not always be able to get what you need. Best of luck, Paul. Best of luck to us all.
To Robert Thompson, from Dr. Paul Velchik, March 10th, 2038. Well, Bob, you wanted news, and I've got one humdinger for you. We did it! The first successful test of Project Harmonics. Granted, the emitters blew up, but for a period of time, roughly 10 minutes, we saw into an alternate reality. Granted, it was a world that was completely hostile to all life as we know it. It looked like it was comprised mostly of lava fields and gigantic steaming pits of acid. But that's only one out of an uncounted number of possible alternate worlds. That's why it's called harmonics, after all. We can tune these worlds in like radio stations. The tricky part will be to find one that we can live on and that isn't already occupied. Though I imagine that unoccupied is a little flexible if we can't find any viable alternatives. I've attached an encrypted file to this note that shows you what we've seen. I'm sure, absolutely 100% sure, that with the right equipment, we can not only view these worlds, but actually transport ourselves to them. All we need is resources that we've been fighting for months now. Surely, with this new success, we can at least get some more resources thrown our way. We need to replace those emitters, and we can't skip on the quality this time. Also, if we could build multiple labs, we could vastly improve our search speed. It took us almost a month to find Lava World, as my team is calling it. Considering that we may have to go through hundreds or even thousands of variants before we find a viable world to escape to, we desperately need to speed things up. If it helps, we can build the scanning stations much more cheaply than the actual emitter stations. They just need to look for likely signals, which we can then key into the emitters to check them out for viability. Please tell me that we can do at least that much. To Robert Thompson, from Dr. Paul Velchik, April 19th, 2038. Bob, as much as I appreciate the Commission's newfound faith in Project Harmonics, though not as much as I appreciate the additional funding and personnel, I have to ask, is it really necessary that we have a military observer? Not to mention all these new security measures. It seems a bit crazy to me. Who's going to attack us? Who's going to steal this technology? Honestly, all this hullabaloo, for lack of a better term, is just making life more difficult. It took 3 minutes to get through this checkpoint this morning, and I'm the head of the project. Please tell me this has nothing to do with those nutballs in Houston. We're over 1,000 miles away from that, and nobody knows we're here anyway. The arcs weren't exactly secret, but we here at our Harmonics aren't going around advertising our...
To Dr. Paul Velchik, from Robert Thompson, April 21st, 2038. Hi, Paul. I'm sorry to say it, but yes, the funding came with those strings attached. The Commission wants the military involved, and that's that. And yes, the vote was unanimous. I don't think you really understand what's going on with those nutballs. They aren't just in Houston, Paul. They're all over the US and the rest of the world. The First Earth movement is deadly serious about not abandoning our world. They blew up the ARC ships in Houston because they see evacuation ships as a waste of resources that could be used fighting the tide. And also the coward's way out. They want to force the world's governments into investing all resources into winning back the Earth, not leaving it. Suffice to say, if they ever did find out about harmonics, they'd come after you. The security is there for a very good reason. You said when all this started that harmonics was our best hope, our last hope. The Commission now believes that you're right. And with that comes the realization that you can't be allowed to fail, and you can't be allowed to be stopped by a bunch of short-sighted idiots who don't seem to realize that there's absolutely no long-term way to fight the tide. Also, Paul, I'm sending you a thesaurus. Seriously, hullabaloo? You have to stop talking like an old-time professor from the 20th century, man. Keep us posted on your progress, and remember, only use proper, secure channels for communication from now on. We can't let any of those Earth First lunatics find out where you are or what you're up to.
Chapter 1 Beginnings. Aaron Olson filtered into the auditorium with the rest of the interns at Project Harmonics. There were 47 of them in all, herself included. Wandering into the room with a complete lack of haste, many of the other interns were whispering excitedly, back and forth to each other, wondering why they had been called together. Erin found herself unable to summon much enthusiasm. Project Harmonics was incredibly top secret, unbelievably well funded, and as they were told regularly by the management, it represented pretty much the last hope for the survival of humanity. Not only billions of lives, but all of the culture and history of the human race hung in the balance. The work itself, though, was about as exciting as watching paint dry. Most of Erin's day was spent carefully calibrating her own emitter array, staring at a screen and making minute adjustments until she found something that seemed to fit within the correct parameters. She then would take a snapshot of the data she found, sending the information to the actual scientists who worked the emitter labs. Each snapshot she sent was a potential new world, which had really excited her at first, but since she herself never got to see the results, the work eventually just got boring. After a few months, it went beyond boring and straight into mind-numbingly tedious. She had been on the project for a little over 4 months now, and the most exciting thing she could remember happening was when the cafeteria had Make Your Own Sunday Day for lunch a week ago. She missed Sunday. Erin picked out a seat somewhere towards the back and slumped into it with a sigh. When she'd left her desk, she'd snagged a notepad and a pen for any notes she might need to take, since personal tablets were forbidden by security. She laid the notepad on her lap and tucked the pen behind her ear, adjusting her short brown hair in the process. The reason she'd picked a chair near the back was because she wanted to be one of the first ones out once the meeting was over. Not because she was in a hurry to return to her work, of course. Rather, it was because she might be able to steal a few minutes of personal time just to go for a short walk while everyone else tied up and getting out of the room. Those brief moments of private time were all that Erin had to break up the tedium of the day. After a few moments, there was motion at the podium. A stout older man in a brown suit and red bow tie walked in. And by his massive spectacles, bushy salt and pepper beard, and bald head, Erin was able to identify him as Dr. Paul Velchik. He was the project head, a man she had seen only a handful of times the half year she had been at the Harmonics compound. She perked up a little. Maybe this meeting would be interesting. After all, Dr. Velchik signaled to the audio technician that he was ready to begin, stepped toward the podium. The lights dimmed. The intern stopped, muttering to each other, and instead focused on him. Cleared his throat, then spoke into the microphone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I wanted to thank you for helping with Project Harmonics. I know the work is hard, and especially your end of the work is very tedious, but what we're doing here is, quite simply, the most important thing in the world today. You've all been working very hard. I can't thank you enough for that. But it's time, I think, to show you some of the fruits of your labors. Yes, that's right. We're going to show you just a few of the worlds that you've helped us discover.
He waited for a moment for the excitement his statement caused to die down a little. Erin felt her own heart racing with the excitement of the moment, resenting the distracting muttering of the other interns around her.
First up,
There was a click, and what looked like a blurry video filled up the large screen to his left.
this world was actually the first one we found. I apologize for the image quality, but the equipment we had back then was merely an early prototype. Images to follow will be much clearer. The technicians dubbed this one Lava World, and I'm sure you can see why.
Erin could, in fact, see why it was called that. The video was taken at an angle that seemed to be maybe 20 feet above the ground, facing the horizon. There was massive plains spreading out into the distance, black, rocky, and apparently shaking violently. These plains led up to gigantic mountains, spewing ash and black smoke into the sky. A few of the mountains were actually in the process of erupting, flinging vast amounts of magma miles into the air.
As you can see, This particular location is unsuitable for human habitation. We were able to take several different viewings from this world, and we discovered that not only is it significantly larger than our Earth, implying a higher gravity, but it is volcanically active the whole world over. As interesting as Lava World would be to a volcanologist, we sadly had to cross it off the list of viable alternate worlds to migrate to.
There was a brief chuckle from the interns at that, which died awkwardly when Dr. Velchek looked out into the audience and apparently he hadn't intended his statement to be taken as funny.
You may be wondering how we received the image. Well, to put it simply, when we put the waveforms that you discover into our emitter array, we can, if the conditions are right, open up a window. If the conditions are near perfect, we can open an actual doorway into that world.
Dr. Velchek began forwarding through the images, and Aaron watched in fascination. Actual alien worlds. According to Dr. Velchek, not a single one of them was suitable for life, but still, many of the worlds showed were simple chunks of rock, either airless or with a poisonous atmosphere. Some looked promising, only to discover some fatal flaws, such as one world with an intense gravity that would have made living on it extremely difficult.
All of these worlds have been, in a very real sense, a triumph for humanity and science in general. Each of these worlds presents to us marvelous opportunities to study and learn fantastic things about our own universe. We've seen things that honestly baffle us. Worlds where the laws of physics as we know them simply do not seem to apply. Unfortunately, none of these present to us the opportunity we are looking for. A world which would, to put it bluntly, save humankind.
He nodded again to the technician, and a new video image popped up on the screen. The projector continued once again.
No world, that is, until this one, which we first discovered 3 weeks ago.
Excited interns sat up straighter as the images on screen progressed. The image displayed was of a world that looked very similar to Earth. The green grass and trees were immediately obvious, deep blue skies and with white cotton puff clouds spanned overhead. It was picturesque, though it seemed oddly brighter than Aaron was used to. Dr. Velchek let the interns gabble on excitedly for a few minutes, then raised a hand for silence once they had settled down and began speaking again.
Now, this world looks very like our own. Some species of plants are unknown to us, but we see many that look very similar to ones that we have here on Earth. We've seen animals that at least look like normal birds, squirrels, and rabbits.
Aaron stared at the screen in rapt attention. The landscape was picturesque. She was barely registering what Dr. Velchek was saying as she stared in awe at the plains and hills, with hope burning in her chest. The view on screen suddenly jumped. They were looking at mountain ranges, with densely wooded valleys and snow-capped peaks. Dr. Velchek kept talking.
We were able to send some probes over.
And here the doctor had to pause as the already excited interns gasped and whispered to each other in amazement. The noise stopped abruptly as he cleared his throat in annoyance.
Yes, as I was saying, we were able to send over some probes, and I'm pleased to say that while the atmosphere that is very slightly higher in oxygen and the gravity is very slightly less than here on Earth, the environment seems to be totally and completely compatible with human life. We've done it, ladies and gentlemen. We found a world that can save humanity.
Erin found herself cheering wildly along with all the others. Her previous frustration with the tedium of her job was washed away in a wave of enthusiasm and joy. It had all been totally worth it. Humanity was saved. Dr. Velchek didn't bother trying to stop the cheering, which eventually turned into applause, and then a standing ovation. He simply beamed out at the audience with a big bearded grin, as all the interns, even the technicians in the back, applauded, whistled, and cheered loudly. Finally, the outburst started to die down, and Dr. Velchek lifted his hand to get everyone's attention. Soon, all eyes were once again focused on him.
There is, however, one small problem. Perhaps it's not an insurmountable problem, but it is one we need to take into consideration. Show the next video, please.
Erin focused on the screen again, as a new image popped up. She blinked in confusion for a moment, not sure what she was seeing. Suddenly it resolved itself. She was looking at a top-down view of a large town, with winding streets and brightly colored rooftops. She felt a sinking sensation in her stomach.
As you can see, this world is inhabited.
He waved off the moans of disappointment from the crowd.
Now, none of that. It's inhabited, yes, but the population density is nowhere near that of the Earth, at least in the regions we've been able to see so far. Granted, that's only a small portion of this world, as there is something about this one that makes matching harmonics with it, well, tricky to say the least. But it's entirely possible that we can coexist with the inhabitants. But first, we need to learn more about them. Because you see, they aren't exactly human.
Erin's breath caught in her throat. She heard several others gasp as well. Just finding out that there were other worlds within reach that could support life was thrilling enough. However, intelligent, non-human life was something, well, shocking. Even though it was a known possibility, to hear it stated as fact was simply incredible.
Now, this is one of the larger settlements we found. For the most part, they appear to be a community of farmers. It seems fairly similar to the USA in the mid-1800s, actually. If they turn out to be hostile or inhospitable, we could, if we wanted to, simply move in by force and take what we need.
Erin's stomach churned at the thought. On the one hand, it was human race's very survival they were talking about. On the other, just the very thought of human beings being like the alien invaders in the science fiction novels she read made her distinctly uncomfortable. She tried to put it out of her mind as Dr. Velchek continued talking.
We'd much rather coexist, of course, but we're talking about the future of the human race here. We're talking about our survival as a species, and we're talking about billions of lives. Naturally, we're still looking for other viable alternate worlds while we study this one. Maybe we can find an uninhabited one that is similar enough to the Earth that we could move there instead. If not, then it's entirely possible that they would be friendly and welcome us into their world. They seem friendly enough as it is. We'd still like to get some people over there to study them, unobtrusively. But for now, we're just watching everything we can whenever we're able to get a window open, which is anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes on average, once or twice a week. And now, I bet you're all just dying to see what our alien intelligence looks like.
He smiled out once again at the brief but loud affirmation from his audience.
Last video, please.
Erin focused her attention once again on the screen. Nobody in the audience even made a peep. Dr. Velchek, however, continued talking, speaking as if he were narrating a nature documentary.
And here we see some lovely rolling hillsides, with a fairly large forest off to the west. As you can see, it's a pleasant day. Small insects buzz by, and there you can see a few rabbits grazing on the grass. And what's this coming over the hillside? Why, it's a collection of this world's most highly developed inhabitants.
Erin stared as several multicolored shapes appeared at the crest of the hill.
As you can see, they are...
Oh my god, ponies!
Erin looked around in a panic, blushing furiously. Everyone was staring at her. Dr. Velchek looked positively annoyed. She'd gone and blurted that out loud, hadn't she? Yes, she had. Dr. Velchek, harumphed gone.
Yes, well, ponies. Though obviously nothing like what we find here on Earth. Note the bright colors. You never see a bright purple pony running around here on Earth, unless its owner had dyed its coat that color. Also, these ponies talk. They use tools. They build things. And that's not all. Look at what you see here. Here comes more ponies. And not all of them are walking.
The auditorium exploded into chaos, interns leaping from their seats and pointing, talking, and at times shouting excitedly over one another.
Oh, wow, it's carrying a basket. Look at that. Is that one flying? Does it have wings? Look at that gray one. Oh, look. One has a foal. Isn't that just adorable? Those are wings. It's a winged pony. If they're so smart, why don't any of them wear clothes? Did you see that? Did you see that? No way. Those wings can support an animal that size in flight. Oh, is that a unicorn? An actual unicorn? Is that one wearing a hat?
Oh my god, this is so incredibly amazing. I can't believe we found intelligent life out there and it's ponies. It's ponies having a picnic and they look so cute and adorable. No man, it's awesome. They can fly and the colors are so pretty and they're all smiling and they look so happy and...
Erin sputtered to a halt as she realized she was rambling. Luckily, nobody else seemed to notice. As they were all staring raptly at the screens and babbling away themselves, she returned her attention to the ponies frolicking on the screen. They were playing games, laughing, eating. One, a purple unicorn, was sitting on a blanket a little away from the others, apparently reading a book that was propped against her picnic basket.
It shouldn't surprise anyone that my team has dubbed this place Pony World.
There was no response, as the interns were all staring raptly at the screen, chattering adamantly with each other. The auditorium continued to ignore him. There was still no response from the audience. Dr. Valchek sighed and signaled the AV tech, who cut off the video. The interns all groaned in disappointment, but returned their attention to the podium.
Now, back to business. We need to get a sense of the Pony Society. How is it organized? What are the people, ponies like? Are they religious? Do they have any needs that we could supply for them in return for letting us live there? Are there any large areas of land that we could move our populations to? Basically, we need vast amounts of information, more than we can get by pushing probes out there and watching through the occasional window. And that's why I called you all together.
He had their attention now. All eyes were glued on him, and he was apparently savoring the moment as he smiled slyly and took a sip of water.
What we need, essentially, are some volunteers.
Aaron's hand shot up, almost out of its own volition.
Ah, well, that was fast. You're the oh my god ponies girl, aren't you? What's your name, young lady?
Aaron, sir. Aaron Olson.
And why are you volunteering for this project when you don't know what we'll even ask of you?
Aaron thought about it for a moment.
Well, sir, this project involve staring at a small screen while making minuscule adjustments for 12-hour shifts?
Dr. Valchek laughed, as did many of the interns in the auditorium.
No, it will not. But it will involve being subject to an experimental harmonics gateway, being sent to this new world, and observing the ponies in their environment for some time while we gather data. And also, you'll be undergoing surgery to have several various probes and sensors inserted into your body in order to better facilitate our data gathering.
Aaron noticed her arms started drooping as the projector went on. Staying there, thought she'd just help with observation. What was that about surgery? Being turned into some sort of living cyborg probe thing didn't sound like a wise thing to do. Plus, what if the ponies, as cute and sweet-natured as they seemed, turned out to be hostile? Then again, the entire human race was at stake, which was why she spent the last 6 months doing permanent damage to her eyes by staring at that stupid harmonic screen. Someone had to do it. Someone had to take the risk. Besides, anything would be better than another few months of staring at that screen. Forced her arm back up.
I'm in!
Wonderful!
A grin broke through the Dr. Valchek's bearded face.
Do we have any other takers?
3 others volunteered within the next few minutes, and one more hesitantly raised her hand as Dr. Valchek continued to alternately plead, cajole, and entice others to volunteer. After another 5 minutes of no more raised hands, it became clear that he had all the volunteers he was going to get. Dr. Valchek was clearly not satisfied, but determined to put a good face on it.
Well then, we have 5 volunteers. 5 brave souls who are willing to go the distance and face the unknown and... apparently that last young lady has reconsidered. Very well, 4 brave souls. Stand up then, you wonderful people. Stand up. We salute you.
Erin stood up, blushing furiously as Dr. Valchek led a round of applause for her and the other volunteers. The applause continued for longer than it should have, then slowly and awkwardly died down. Erin remained standing, unsure of what to do next. Dr. Valchek had apparently forgotten about them and was leafing through some papers at the podium. Caught the eyes of another volunteer, a young man she knew as Adam. He shrugged, then motioned towards the podium. Erin shrugged as well. When Adam started to make his way down the aisle, she did as well. The other two volunteers also made their way down as they all stood, uncertainly, on the floor next to the raised stage where the podium resided. Finally, Adam cleared his throat.
What? Oh, yes, of course. Everyone, thank you for coming today. Feel free to take an hour of celebration at the cafeteria before returning to work. We still need to find other viable alternate worlds, just in case this pony world doesn't pan.
Then, the other interns started filtering out of the back of the auditorium. Dr. Valchek turned to the four volunteers and called warmly.
Ah, my dear volunteers. Wonderful. Wonderful. Please, for now, join your peers and get something to eat. It's a special day. We ordered in cake and ice cream. It's waiting in the cafeteria. Mention that you're a volunteer and you should get an extra large slice. Here you go.
With that, he handed each of them a folder with a few papers in it.
Read those over as soon as you can, after the cake, of course, and meet me in conference room 4C in 3 hours. There are a few things we need to go over.
Erin opened her folder as did the other three volunteers. It just seemed to be a standard release form, a confidentiality agreement, and a medical checklist.
Whoa, that sure was interesting. But for now, let's go get some cake.
Erin couldn't have agreed more, on both counts. Chapter 2, Gathering Data. Conference room 4C turned out to be one of the larger rooms, dominated by a large oak table. Erin and the other three volunteers shuffled in, full of cake and high spirits. She was a bit alarmed to see 2 armed guards standing on either side of the door. They didn't try to stop them from going in. There were a number of people waiting for them, all grouped in the far end away from the door, relaxing and chatting in the high-backed leather chairs. Volunteers were encouraged to have seats close to the current occupants, leaving most of the room empty.
We were really hoping for more volunteers.
One of the people in the room spoke, a scientist Erin recognized as Dogger Maggie Henson, who was her boss's boss and head of the harmonics emitter team. She turned to one of her fellow scientists.
I told Paul we should have expanded our selection beyond just the interns.
The other scientist shrugged.
He wanted to keep it in house.
There didn't seem to be much say to that, so Erin fiddled with the paperwork Dr. Valchek had given her. The others introduced themselves. In addition to Dr. Henson, there was Dr. Alden Rowe, Chief of Medicine, Dr. Herman Fisher, who was in charge of something apparently called Project Ascend, who spoke with a slight Austrian accent, and a short, thin, middle-aged man who didn't give his first name and simply identified himself as Dr. Edwards. The last man to introduce himself was Major Mitchell Morris, who said he was there as a military observer. As the introductions were wrapping up, Dr. Valchek walked in and seated himself at the head of the table.
Have we all already introduced ourselves to each other? Yes? Good. Let's get right into it then. First and foremost, did you all have a chance to go through your papers?
Volunteers all assured him they had. Dr. Valchek beamed.
Good deal. First thing then is that we need you all to sign the confidentiality agreement. Basic non-disclosure under penalty of treason of any information that you may be told in here. Do you have any questions? No? Then sign away, my wonderful volunteer.
Everyone felt a bit nervous, and judging by the looks on their faces, so did the others. However, with only a slight amount of hesitation, she and all the others signed the documents and handed them over to Dr. Valchek, who gathered the papers together into a manila folder.
Good. Now that that's out of the way, I have to say that we're going to be introducing you to some very radical concepts here. Not only the cybernetic implants, which I touched upon very briefly during the meeting, but some cutting-edge stuff that anyone out in the world today would tell you is nothing but science fiction. I have to warn you that there's no going back after this point. You can still refuse to participate once you hear the offer, but if you decline, you will be kept separate from the rest of the personnel on site. That's non-negotiable, I'm afraid. Your only contact will be with other people who have the same information that you do, at least until this particular project has run its course. Any who wish to leave now may do so, with no hard feelings, and go back to the scanner arrays.
Aaron could see fear in the eyes of the other interns. She was sure they could see the same in hers. One of the volunteers got up, a woman perhaps in her late 20s, made her excuses, blushing furiously, and walked quickly out the door. The guard poked his head into the conference room, but Dr. Velchek said that she was free to go. The guard nodded and closed the door again.
Well, not as bad as I was expecting. Well, if the rest of you are very sure, good. Then let's get into some of the data that we know.
Dr. Velchek clicked a button on the table in front of him, and the lights in the room dimmed. The screen at the back of the room lit up, suddenly filled with the same pastoral scene that Aaron remembered first seeing when Ponyworld was introduced.
There were a few things that we kept from the others. We collected some video and carefully edited to keep it out some of the more extraordinary aspects of this world. First of all, here you see one of the horned ponies, what most of my staff are calling a unicorn, which seems apt enough. What you didn't see was, well, just...
Aaron watched carefully as the pony trotted into view, smiling gently as she trotted along. Now that she could take a closer look, she noticed that the pony looked only superficially like a pony from Earth. This one's head was rounder, larger eyes, and a higher forehead. Also, horses and ponies on Earth didn't smile. Nor did they have what looked like a tattoo of a four-leaf clover on their rumps. Also, something else seemed slightly off about her. Aaron blinked, and she suddenly noticed that the unicorn's horn was glowing slightly, a pale green shade or two lighter than her coat. Then something amazing happened. Several branches on the ground were enveloped in similar colored glow and then rose into the air and sped towards the unicorn. She turned and trod back the way she came, branches in tow. Aaron became aware that her mouth was hanging open, so she shut it.
As you can see, the unicorn seemed to possess a telekinetic ability. We suspect that the winged ponies also have some sort of TK ability as well, which enables them to fly. As you can see, there is simply no way that their wingspan, even in Ponyworld's slightly lower gravity, could support a creature of that size. At least, not without the creature being so light that its mass wouldn't be able to overcome air resistance to allow it to move forward. This wasn't the only example of telekinesis we'd seen from these remarkable ponies. We've seen many others.
Tapped again on the console in front of him, and the video shifted. Several unicorns flashed by on the screen above. A blue one, apparently male, and with a white mane, safety pin tattoo, was trotting along with a bag full of what seemed to be apples floating beside him. The yellow one with a blue mane was using her telekinesis, but a hat on her head. And finally, there was a lavender one, with a darker purple mane with a pink streak and a pattern that looked like a starburst for a tattoo. She was walking down the street, apparently reading from the book she was levitating in front of her. Aaron thought that seemed a little bit on the dangerous side.
Obviously, the telekinesis presents a great unknown factor. This is one way in which this world is different than ours. Who knows how many others there may be?
How do you get all these videos?
Glad you asked. The drones that we sent over are very small, programmed to evade notice, and have simply the best cameras money can buy. They stay some distance outside of town, zooming in on whatever their programming takes a fancy to.
Sir, what's the significance of the tattoos on their hindquarters?
That? We honestly don't know. All of the adults have them. It seems to be some sort of ritualistic rite of passage into adulthood kind of thing, but we're really not sure. We have cataloged a few of these, but there seems to be almost no correlation between the pony and the tattoo, outside of the different types of ponies, that is.
What do you mean?
Well, there are the three different kinds of ponies, as you see. At least, if there are any other kinds, we haven't seen them yet. The basic kind is the one without horns or wings. They seem to be mostly laborers and farmers, or craftsmen. Or crafts ponies, I suppose. They tend to have more down-to-earth kinds of marks. various kinds of plants, fruits, flowers, tools, that sort of thing. The unicorns, though, they tend to have more along the lines of artistic, mystical, or scientific types of marks. Stars, for example, or paintbrushes. I saw one with an hourglass, even. The winged ponies tend to have ones based on weather, such as cloud, rainbows, that kind of thing. There is some crossing back and forth, such as the unicorn we saw earlier with the clover mark, but our best guess is that there's some kind of caste system, with the plain ponies most likely on the bottom, though there doesn't seem to be any real social separation between the classes.
Aaron was fascinated. There were so many unknowns.
So basically, we want you to go and infiltrate Pony Society, find out how things work there, try the local food, so you can give the sensors we'll implant in your digestive tracts the ability to analyze the nutritional content of it, mingle with the ponies, learn how the economy works, what the difference is between the classes of ponies besides the obvious, find out how the government works, that kind of thing. Basically, just gather any and all information that you can, as quickly as you can.
And how do you suppose we're gonna do that? Just walk up to them and say hi? Hi there, little ponies. I'm an alien that wants to gather information all about your world. How would they even understand us? I doubt they speak English.
That's one of the most amazing things. One of the pros we managed to get across happened to pick up a brief conversation as a couple of ponies wandered by underneath it. Apparently, they speak perfect English. Honestly, I was still too shocked by the telekinesis to be much bothered about that, but it is perhaps the most astounding thing, I'm sure you'll agree. As for the other thing, you won't be aliens at all. We plan to, well, to turn you into ponies.
There was a long pause.
I'm sorry, what?
He couldn't have heard him right.
Yes, into ponies. Dr. Fisher, if you could take over.
Certainly, Paul.
The scrawny old Austrian doctor straightened in his seat and punched a button on his own control panel. The visions of Pony World and its colorful, wonderful inhabitants faded from view, to be replaced by what looked like very strange, slightly mechanical, and oily-looking grains of rice.
I work on Project Ascent. This project had one goal in mind: to figure out how to counter the Black Tide's nefarious little nanomachines with nanomachines under our own control. How unfortunately, their machines are much more advanced than ours and simply consume them like they consume everything else. In any case, what you see here is the fruit of our labor. Each of these little pellets is invisible to the naked eye and has yet the ability to rearrange matter in much the same way that Tide's own nanomachines can. Only in this case, we can control it.
The third volunteer, a young man Aaron knew as Richard, spoke up.
Winchester, you're Richard.
I'm done. There's no way it's going to work for me. Sorry, this sounds way too mad scientist.
Very well.
Dr. Valchek stood and escorted the young man out the door, where he murmured briefly to the guard standing outside the doorway. Richard was escorted away by one of the guards, and Dr. Valchek returned to the head of the table, lowering into his seat with a heavy sigh.
And then there were two. Please continue, Dr. Fisher.
Ah, yes, of course.
The Austrian fiddled with his pen briefly, obviously trying to recollect his thoughts. Finally, he continued.
The procedure is perfectly safe, I assure you. We will turn you into ponies of the plain variety and give you what we hope will be an appropriate mark on your flanks.
Erin felt a brief moment of disappointment. Not that she thought of being turned into a pony by what appeared to be admittedly a mad scientist. Didn't scare the willies out of her, but...
Why can't we be winged ponies? I'd like to be able to fly.
Dr. Fisher seemed mildly amused by that.
If you can tell us how they fly and describe for us the anatomy of their wings, then indeed we'd be happy to make you over into a winged pony. As it is, though, we have no idea how to replicate the abilities of the horned and winged ponies that you see in our videos.
Aaron was surprised to note that she was feeling disappointed by that. It wasn't like there was any chance that she would actually let these people remake her body into that kind of pony, was there? Dr. Fisher continued.
We can do this, we assure you. We've already done significant animal testing, and we believe we have all the flaws worked out.
And you have my personal word that you will be turned back at the first opportunity when you return from Pony World. And, just to sweeten the pot, if helping to save the world isn't enough, I will personally guarantee that you will be compensated well enough that you will never have to work again. Also, you'll be heroes the world over once this is all said and done. So what do you say?
Aaron exchanged a long, doubtful look with Adam.
Where did this technology come from? I've never heard of anything like this ever. There's no way this could be technology. We're not capable of this.
Dr. Fisher looked comfortable. He looked at Dr. Velchek, who shrugged and nodded.
We have studied the nanomachines of the Tide. We were able to retrieve some damaged ones and figure out some of the properties by which they work. Our own nanomachines were built using that knowledge. My microphone was muted, wasn't it? We have studied the nanomachines of the Tide. We were able to retrieve some damaged ones and figure out some of the properties by which they work. Our own nanomachines were built using that knowledge.
So you're saying you're planning on using technology based off of the black tide to turn us into ponies?
Both Dr. Velchek and Fisher confirmed that this.
Then I also have to say no. Sorry, I agree with Richard. This is just too crazy. I'm sorry, Aaron. Looks like it's down to you, man.
Aaron felt her heart racing as Dr. Velchek escorted Adam out. The hands of the waiting guard outside.
And then there was one.
Dr. Velchek lowered himself to his seat.
What do you say? Aaron, was it? The fate of the world rests in your hands. No, the fate of two worlds, ours and theirs. Because I guarantee you, whether or not we gather the information we need, humanity is moving into Pony World in about 8 months' time. We already have emitter stations going up all over the world in preparation for the event. We plan on doing this as diplomatically as possible, but the survival of the human race has to take precedence. The information you gather could make that transition so much easier on both species. Will you do it?
Sir, I...
Glanced away. He never liked being put on the spot. Here she was, being told that she was partly responsible for the fate of the human. Oh, and that the mostly unknown pony race. Why did I ever volunteer in the first place? If I'd known this was going to be based on Tide technology.
Can I sleep on it?
Dr. Velchek agreed and then escorted her to the doorway himself. The others in the room went their own separate ways. One of the guards had returned by this point. Dr. Velchek waved him off, walked her down to his specifically repaired dorm himself. The whole way, he kept up a steady monologue about the good of humanity, saving the Earth, and how she could be one of the heroes of the modern world. Much like the astronauts who walked on the moon almost a century ago. She really wished he'd stop talking. It was making it hard for her to think. Finally, they reached another guarded door.
Well, here you are, my dear. I really hope you take us up on this opportunity. You'll be doing everyone a lot of good if you agree.
And with that, Dr. Velchek turned and left. Aaron in the doorway and looked around. She was in a large sitting area with several screens on the walls, though none of them were on at the moment. The central area had a large sofa with several comfortable-looking chairs. There were bookshelves around the walls, and off to one side she saw a bar and a decent-sized kitchen area. Richard and Adam looked up as she entered, apparently interrupting their conversation.
Well, that didn't take long. I didn't think anyone would go for that. It's just too crazy.
Actually, I haven't made up my mind yet.
Both Richard and Adam gaped at her. You've got to be kidding. They want to break down your body and recreate it. Recreate it as a stupid horse! Using the technology inspired by the Black Tide. How can you ever consider that?
Because a lot of lives are at stake, that's how.
Don't be stupid, Aaron. No one is going to die. We've got an entire world to move into. Getting information is pointless. We're going in there whether or not the ponies like it. And if they fight us, well, we're not exactly leaving any of our military hardware behind, are we? I doubt those winged ponies could outfly a jet.
Both he and Richard started joking about how overmatched the ponies would find themselves against fighter jets, tanks, and helicopters. He thought back to the videos they had all seen. Ponies laughing and playing, talking and reading, building things, farming things, a community, and that seemed to be happy and cohesive. He had a sudden vision of what was going to happen. Ready or not, humanity was going to pour through Harmonic's gateway by the millions. No, by the billions. People in general weren't bad, but with the survival of the entire species at risk, would the plight of these little ponies even be considered? Definitely not. Unless someone went in and came back with information. These ponies were living, thinking creatures, and unless that information came out, Aaron was afraid that they'd be treated as little better than animals by a good portion of humanity, and maybe even worse by talking animals. That would seem a threat to certain kinds of people. Aaron was convinced that most people were good and kind in the world. Even then, she knew there were still plenty of small-minded racists and xenophobes out there. If there were people that hated other people based on nothing more than skin color, how many people would hate ponies based on actual species? Full weight of it suddenly hit her. Dr. Valchek was completely right. It was two worlds, not one, that hung in the balance. And the one that was in greater danger was Pony World. She made up her mind. Turning, she opened the door she had just walked through. Guards jumped a little, and then one of them raised her hand to bar her. Sorry, ma'am, but you can't leave.
Please send for Dr. Velchek. Tell him I've made up my mind. Tell him I'll do it.
Alrighty.
Adam is a bitch.
Hi, Echo.
1 second, I'll be
I am
back. I
so
have to see why
pissed.
my cat's dying.
Hey, maybe it can be a pony in one of the later chapters, okay?
I doubt it. Adam sounds like a coward.
Well, it doesn't have to be Adam. You can be a braver pony.
That's stupid, though. Okay, fine, whatever.
I want the Austrian to go to the New World.
Yes, that was a really good accent. I loved it.
Yes, that actually was really good.
That's perfect.
But yes, that concludes the beginning of Project Sunflower.
It's pretty cool.
Yep.
It's got my interest. Let's see
Yep,
that.
it's considered one of the best human and equestrian stories in Finfic.
Richard flying off the handle about being turned into a stupid horse. Oh, beautiful.
Yes, indeed. That was a beautiful performance on Winchester's behalf.
And I love how insane Cole sounded.
Dude,
I-
I totally blanked at one of my lines and I totally ad-libbed it so badly. It was horrible.
Yeah, I have no idea what was going on.
You
I,
ad-libbed it, but you kept the general sense quite right, so it felt fine.
Yeah, like I got confused as what I was trying to say. I had the sentence in mind, then my mind decided to like skip 3 words ahead.
Alright, now that I've just speared a guy,
Excuse me? This is not one of those type of shows, buddy.
Excuse me.
wrong type of spear.
Y'all need Jesus, Winchester.
Wrong type of spear. I'm talking about the actual one that I have sitting behind me.
Yeah, by the
It's also a
way,
boring
sorry for about 30 seconds turning what was a very professional sounding show into whatever the fuck I did.
Hey,
Actually-
we can be truly professional.
I was gonna
It
say,
was
actually,
pretty
that
good.
wasn't too bad.
You are lying. You are lying. You are lying.
You told us you're just being insecure.
You are lying. Well, actually,
Koldos, if you can get worse than my screw up in the middle of all that, kudos to you.
The screw up where you didn't see your line and it made Datsmore think his mic was muted.
Yes.
I was wondering what happened
Thought
there.
it was so.
Nope.
He sort of just jumped ahead, so I just went with it. I was like, okay, we'll just pretend that's what happened.
Yeah, I basically just said, it works. So I hope everybody enjoyed. I'm mildly excited for this this fanfic coming up. This is one that I actually did read like the first little bit. I think I read through like the first 2 or 3 chapters, and then I was just like, I'm sure it picks up from here, and went on about my day.
Yep, this was written way back in 2012, and even now it's regarded highly in the fanfic community.
I can see why.
Well, part of the reason why I kind of guessed it was written a long time ago was because the character that I assumed they were talking about as Twilight was a unicorn, didn't have wings.
Yeah, this is pre-Alicorn Twilight.
Yes. So, but I think that will be really good. Let's see how so many people dreamed might happen. Let's see how this would turn out. I can already see that because humanity is a giant raging bag of dicks, that it's gonna turn out pretty badly. But
how would ponies fare against our jets, tanks, and helicopters?
That is a good question, because while they have a very powerful magical presence, we have a very powerful physical presence.
But the thing is, we don't know how far that can go. For example, Twilight, if she decides to do a fucking Kamehameha, or man, I can't. Yeah, if she decides,
say Hadouken.
You actually messed up on that.
If she can't figure out how to do that, or if she can do that again to one of the jets, etc., yep, it'd be destroyed.
But at the same time, we have a nuke that can do that 200 times over.
Yeah, but you can also think all that they would need is a fairly low level pony to go up high in the air, set off some sort of magic flashbang, and blind and disorient all the pilots.
You also got to think that.
They also have
humans are basically
unit or wow, I can't speak. Sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say, if humans were to invade their world, they have a massive logistics issue.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you get more fuel for them without having to bring more in?
Smash the ponies into fuel.
Yes.
That takes millions of years.
Now, my question is, what are they
Run out
going
of
to think?
biofuel.
It's like, my question is, they're going to be fighting the ponies, but what happens when they see the dragons?
Yeah.
Yeah, Commander will just destroy them all.
I'll
Some
remind
weird
everyone
Japanese comes
that
out of nowhere. It's Gogeta!
nanobots do exist in this world, and we can just turn the entire world into oranges, just all over the place.
That is a good point. We do have that nanomachine technology. That could cause some massive
youngling, what do you
damage.
call yourself? I am Scootaloo. You are now an actual chicken. I'm turning everything into poultry.
Well, we wouldn't have a food shortage anytime soon.
Can Celestia please be a swan?
No, also poultry.
Swans are poultry.
Oh, we'll make her a
very
duck.
colorful poultry.
A duck, yes. A duck.
As far as I understand, poultry is bird meat. Swan is a
And then we can
bird.
burn it for being a witch.
I just got the reference.
Mhm.
Oh god.
Oh,
But
man.
yes, I think that will turn out well. Yeah, so hopefully here's to more future readings with current like things going on. Like I didn't even To be honest, I was thinking that I probably wouldn't be here for this week. But then it ended up that I didn't end up getting one of the deals that I had signed up to do, and or I was like a minute too late in like requesting a job, and they were just like, "Oh, yeah, they got that they got the shift already." So yeah, and I was, damn it. So they're just like, "But you're first in line for the next one," and I'm just like, "Awesome."
Sure.
Why needs a video when you can be with us reading?
Yeah. Well, I guess I still could have done the reading. I just would have done it from Jesse's setup and had to have like CMC or Skyrays or somebody actually stream it.
But I think we'll probably have like one more multi-chapter, and I think from that point forward we'll be doing like single chapter from then on. Based
Okay.
on how things are.
So, alrighty. Well, anyways, I guess. Yeah, I forget how early these reading streams tend to end. So, I guess without further ado, we'll start with outros. So we'll start with Coal Dust.
But I'm at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm going from the bottom up.
Oh, great.
Give
I
an
got, like,
outro for all
10
10 of your voices.
I'm not doing that, mostly because I can't remember them all. Right. Fuck, I don't know. Shouts out to Datsmore's penis. And also Double R's penis. And Skyray's penis. And especially Commander's penis.
Stop.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with giving penis some love, okay?
Also,
Oh.
I probably shouldn't be saying that by an open window, but I am. This is a bad
or on open streams. Alrighty, and next on to Double R.
Shoutouts to ad-libbing. It really shows the kind of talent that a person possesses.
Alrighty, and next on to Datsmore.
I'm a Bob.
Do.
I'm just a Bob. I'm not a builder. I'm not any other kind of Bob. I'm just a
Well,
Bob.
you think so?
Are you Bob from Stranger Things?
No, I'm just Bob.
Are
I have no
are
special abilities.
are
just
you
saw
now
the
named
ad.
Bob because a shark ate
If you
all
said
of your
yes,
limbs
you would be
while you
Sam
were swimming in the
Genji.
ocean?
I'm just Bob. Because it's quite literally my middle name. So you know.
Okay, Frank. And from Frank, we'll go on to Double R.
I already did mine.
Okay. I'm losing my spot. So next on to Skyrays.
Shout outs to Illinois' use tax. Hooray for charging us for thinking about something.
Fuck Illinois. And next on to Skyrays.
Guy, yes.
Wait, what? He has to shout out twice?
Well, I gave you a shout out twice, so it was only reasonable.
Oh, hey, we're getting second shout out. Shouts out to Datsmore's face that I scribbled very wrongly.
Oh, dude,
my
yeah.
God,
Shout
that's
out to that. Fucking hell.
Alrighty, so now everybody has had their double shout outs except for CMC. Do your first shout out.
Fires, explosions, LOE, Rowan, venison jerky.
Alright, second shout out.
Bob, am I?
But there
Alrighty.
can't be two Bobs.
No,
We're all Bob. There's always a little Bob inside us.
Winchester.
You are also Bob.
I thought his name was Steve.
You are now a Bob.
But I don't like Bob.
I swear it was Jeff.
Hi, my name's
That's Jeff, and Jeff.
No. Joe's what comes after Steve goes to college.
Alrighty. And yes, Thank you all for.
Don't forget, we're missing someone, Winchester.
No.
No,
Nope. Not at all. And yes, that they didn't want me shouted out at the beginning, so they don't get one at the end. Alrighty. And thank you all for showing up. It's been fun. Yeah. So. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I told a guy at MSP that I give shout outs to this. 1 second while I pull it up here. Somebody do something in the meantime.
Da 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 da
Okay, now do the underwater.
da 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 da.
Oh, that one.
Da 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 da.
Now do the underground caves.
Alrighty, and there we go. And there we go. I found the thing. So, a new thing going on that a friend of mine, Snuggle Trumpet, wanted me to shout out on stream here really quick. He is putting on a con called Saturday Morning Con Tunes. It will be in Woburn, Massachusetts, August 23rd through the 25th, 2019. So, if any of you are in that area or interested in going to that area, it's just supposed to be a small, more of like a meetup like thing, like so yeah. But that's what it's planning on going on. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that, it looks like it's supposedly it's more for everything, or it's more for any type of cartoon, etc., etc. So yeah. And it looks like they actually have, for their guest announcement, they have Ashley Nichols going, one of the artists, or as an artist, and whatnot. So, let's see, Buzz Dixon. I don't know if there's any more. But, yeah. So, if any of you guys are in that area, or make sure to check that out. Should be a fun time. So
I'm ashamed to say that I knew where this was just specifically because of the Boston and Maine Railroad. I need help.
well, congratulations. You're probably the closest one to us. So go to us, scout it out, and tell us how it's going. Also, I see that Circuit's in here. So Circuit, shout out the thing that I just shouted out on your show as well.
What did you guys do? I have Nintendo knocking at my door right now. They're holding out subpoenas. What did you do?
They're holding out what?
Nintendo's holding out subpoenas.
Oh, subpoenas. I totally did not think that you said
with a baseball bat. What did you do?
I shouted out Saturday Morning Con Tunes, August 23rd through the 25th, 2019, at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Woburn, Massachusetts. Yes.
Cool.
It is put on by Snuggle Trumpet. Or he is a good big part of it. So they'll have Ashley Nichols, another guy that I don't know the name of, but I will look really quick and see. Buzz Dixon. There you go. So
Buzz Dixon, really?
yes.
Cool.
So
Oh my god, tomorrow's 7-Eleven.
yes.
That means free Slurpees.
Oh.
It means it's the day when I should be making a road trip across the state of Vermont, so that way I can go to the 2 7-Elevens that exist. That's right, 7-Eleven quest, baby.
That there's
Are you gonna try and get 2 free Slurpees? Because I believe they try and close that off at about 6 p.m.
There's
I mean, Vermont's very small, CMC.
there's only one there's none in Nebraska. Period. So
There's nothing in Nebraska.
Well, since I have a momentary shout out, I would like to shout out TruckCon. That is starting next week. I will be there for the first time. So if you are going to TruckCon, I will be there as well. Good luck finding me, though.
I am so sorry, but I will explain that later. Anyways, everybody, thank you for showing up. It's been fun. And yes, here's some drum and bass from an awesome DJ that doesn't produce much music anymore, but when he does, it is amazing. So, we'll close this out with some Affixa. Thank you all for showing up. This is Winchester going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.